Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. Today we're talking to Emily Maxson, who is the founder and a blogger at Emily's Fresh Kitchen. Her website is emilysfreshkitchen.com, and that's also her Instagram address. Emily is a trained chef and is the author of two cookbooks. The first one is Emily's Fresh Kitchen, Cook Your Way to Better Health, and now her second cookbook is called Real Food Every Day. In this cookbook, she offers 134 recipes that include plant-based recipes, very nice high-fiber recipes, substitutions, tips and tricks, and more. And the second cookbook just came out, so it's available any place where you buy books. It's a beautiful cookbook, and I think you would really enjoy it. So we're going to talk to Emily today. Hello, Emily.
Hello, Mary.
Thank you for coming on with us. We really appreciate it. We're going to talk to Emily about her book and also about her journey through food. She has a very interesting story, and we wanted to hear about that and how you got to this cookbook.
Thank you for having me, Mary. So I went to culinary school after I was in college for a couple of years and decided my love for food, I wanted to go into culinary school. So I went to culinary school. I worked in restaurants and catering. And then when I was 28, I had my own catering business. And one morning I was working on a catering menu for an event, and I experienced severe abdominal pain, just stabbing pain.
Oh my.
I could barely move. So my husband had left for work. I called my mom. She came and picked me up and took me to the emergency room at a nearby hospital. And when I was there, they thought, this must be appendicitis. They got out the ultrasound machine and were looking around, and they couldn't find my appendix, but they said, we really think this is an appendicitis, so we want to get you into surgery. So they wheeled me away into surgery, and they told us it would be a 45-minute appendectomy. After about 2 hours of me being in surgery, my husband and my mom went up and asked what was going on, and they called into the operating room, and the front desk did, and the nurse there said, we just got finished removing part of her small intestine, and now we're working on her large intestine. So what happened is while I was in surgery, they went in to do an appendectomy. They thought that was the problem, found disease and sores on my intestines. So they removed part of my small and large intestines, sent the tissue to pathology, and discovered that I had Crohn's disease.
Oh my.
Yeah. So it came on a, severe attack like that. And so I spent 2 weeks in the hospital recovering. And when I got out, I went and met with a gastroenterologist, and he explained to me that I would be on medications and have multiple surgeries and perhaps a colostomy bag in my future with managing this disease. So it was very disheartening. He also told me I might not be able to have children, and I was newly married. So that was really really painful, hard to hear. So I went from having this catering business, food, and then this diagnosis in the middle of nowhere. So I started taking medication to manage the disease, and that medication would work for a while, and then it would stop working, and I'd go on to the next medication. I call it the pharmaceutical ladder. So I climbed the pharmaceutical ladder for about 10 years and was in and out of the hospital and managing the disease that way. And I was fortunate, though, to have two beautiful daughters.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, I did. Hearing that news, I also saw a naturopath, and she explained to me that the part of my intestines that were removed absorbed certain vitamins and minerals that are important for supporting a baby. And so she just got me on supplements and other things, and I was able to have children. So I was grateful for that, but raising two young girls and this disease. So I would take medications and steroid courses and things to manage it. And then one day I was with my naturopath, had an appointment with her, and she said, I think you should try this specific carbohydrate diet, and gave me a book called Breaking the Vicious Cycle. And it's a book written by Elaine Gottschall, and she talks about this diet where people with celiac, Crohn's, colitis, different diverticulitis, digestive diseases follow this strict diet, starving the bad bacteria in your intestines. So it eliminates all the grains and starches and refined sugars and processed foods and chemicals and additives. And the theory was if you do that for 1 to 2 years, you can reset and heal your gut. I thought that was fascinating because I had been reading a lot of dietary theories, and obviously I love food. I love to cook. I have since I was a young child. I went to culinary school. So obviously I like food, and I read the book and thought it sounded good, but pretty strict. And I wasn't sure I wanted to do it, but I got sick again, and I was at the top of the pharmaceutical ladder, and I'm going to try this diet. So I followed it for 3 months to make sure that before going off medication, to make sure that I had the self-discipline and that I could do it, because I would have to do it for 1 to 2 years. And I found within a few weeks, I was feeling fantastic, and I was cooking that way for my family, and they were feeling wonderful. It was great. And this was, 19 years ago. So back then we didn't have all the wonderful gluten-free, dairy-free products that we do today. So I was doing a ton of scratch cooking. So I was finding new ways to make old favorites like a muffin. I couldn't use sugar or flour. So I would use almond flour, applesauce, honey, and create muffins, or made crackers out of seeds or almond flour, things like that. So after a year and a half doing this diet, I was able to reintroduce foods back into my diet and tolerate them well. And so for 17 years, I have not been on medication or been in a hospital or have any type of flare-up. So I've been healed. And I really learned through that experience the power of food. I originally just loved food for the taste and creating recipes and working in restaurants and catering. And then I just learned so much about the power of food. And so I started blogging, sharing recipes online. And I was surprised at the number of people who had diseases or digestive problems that could resonate with what I experienced. And so I decided to write my first cookbook and share those recipes and my story.
That is amazing. Wow. That's unbelievable, because I know how hard, first of all, not only just preparing all of your foods from scratch, but like you said, 19 years ago, those things didn't exist. Like you had to make them. I know a lot of people with just regular food allergies that they used arrowroot because you couldn't use flour, and all of these things you can get fairly easily now that just didn't exist, that you had to make yourself. That's just it's unbelievable. But what a wonderful outcome, I know that would be hard to stick to it, but what a wonderful outcome. Now, are you pretty much follow that still, but maybe not to such an intense degree, or how do you go about now?
I have what I call food freedom, because I can eat whatever I want, but I cook a lot at home the same way that I did then. But then when I go out to restaurants, or if we order food occasionally, I have whatever I want. I'll have a pasta dish or a pizza or something like that, or make it with family. But I try to cook most of the time following just clean, healthy, real food ingredients.
That absolutely makes perfect sense to me. I love the one thing that you said was, there's this big focus on having protein or watching the types of sugar that you use or those kinds of things. And no one talks about fiber. And I am a big fiber person, which sounds hilarious, but I make some baking mixes that I've made them for years and years for my own family, and I have an oat bran muffin mix that I actually made into a mix that I sell. And I'll tell people, it's got so much fiber in it that there's raw sugar in it, but that wipes out the sugar, and people don't even care. Like they're like, oh, they taste good. Nobody cares about the fiber but me. And I think I love that you said that, because that's an important thing. And people do not consider the complete lack of fiber in most Americans' diets. I mean, it's like unreal. That I have people that they will not buy anything but white bread. They don't like bread that I always say they don't like bread that has a flavor. So I love that you have that. And I think most of your recipes are focused on fiber, having a good fiber content.
Right, exactly. So once I healed and could add more foods into my diet, I could have fiber when I was following the diet, but the ingredient list expanded, and I was looking into how do I maintain this healthy gut so I don't go back to having an overgrowth of bad bacteria causing disease. And one of the things is having a high fiber diet. And like you said, today we're very focused on protein, which that's not bad. Protein is good. But when people are following these low carb diets, then they eliminate carbohydrates, and that's where we get our fiber. So in my cookbook that I just released, Real Food Every Day, my focus is on how to maintain good gut health, high fiber recipes, things like smoothies where you have cherries and cashew butter, but you also add some frozen cauliflower rice to it, or just cabbage, a lot of slaws, cabbage into your salads, and different ways to add more fiber into your diet, beans and lentils and things, because it affects your overall health, not just your digestive health. So
I did like those. A lot of the recipes in here I thought would be great for a diabetic, because that bringing up that fiber content is key. And I thought, man, this is such a good cookbook for people, like any kind of a food related health issue that you have. I think this cookbook is beneficial, because you have that there's such an amazing array of recipes, and even things like you said, like the slaws. You make the slaw and you can use it with something else, or like on something else or something like that. So this cookbook is very rich in condiments, I would say, because you can complement, and that's like a lot of people look at something and say like, oh, I can only eat this one thing. But if you have to have a high fiber diet, you can eat something that's not necessarily high fiber and add that fiber to it with side dishes and condiments and stuff. So I liked all those recipes. There was a lot of really great ones like that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think with adding the fiber and having these healthier recipes with just real food, you can just boost the flavor by a simple homemade condiment.
Yes. I also love you. Now, I say this all the time on my podcast, so it probably is going to annoy people as much as but I love how you also focus on how preparing your own food at home is one of the best and healthiest things you can do for your body. And this culture today, I encounter, because I make my own and sell baking mixes. I have people all the time that say, oh, I don't cook. I don't even bake with a mix. I don't do anything. We eat out all the time. And I think, how on earth can you do that? I don't know how that, I can't comprehend it. But I love that, the focus of the importance of cooking at home.
Yes. I mean, I learned firsthand the importance of it and the power of it, cooking all of our meals at home. I mean, I know we've just gotten so busy as a society that we're outsourcing so many things. And one of that is meals.
Yes.
And my goal with my cookbooks is to create very simple, easy to follow recipes for people, like you said, you encounter who say, oh, I don't cook. Or people who are intimidated by cooking. Like, it doesn't have to take that much time. You can use simple, real food ingredients and cook at home. Because when we're eating out, which is fine to do occasionally, but if all of our meals are coming from other restaurants or convenience items, they add so many things to that are not good for us. When you cook at home, you have control over what types of oils you use and sweeteners and salts and how much you add to it. So you know what you are getting, what you're eating.
Yes, I love that. I also love your recipes, they're simple and they're adaptable. So and I tell people that all the time, if you look at a recipe and you don't like an ingredient, if it's not a key ingredient, leave it out. Or if you need to sub it, and I love recipes that are built for substitutions, because you have, in our own family, we have a variety of food allergies and some people that practice a vegan diet. So that's always fun. So we have, we have to watch the dairy. We have a citric acids sensitivity, different things. So I try to be considerate of people's dietary needs when I do something. So this is very helpful to have something like this that you can just look and go, oh, well, we could do this, this, and this. I just was telling Anna, the section of your cookbook that is the appetizers and savory snacks, I said, that's like a buffet of appetizers to me. It should be called like Sunday appetizers or football appetizers or something, because you can make all of those, But I just love that, because there's so many things that you could adapt for. If your family has these various health needs, you could use several recipes from this and make something that everyone would enjoy.
And that was my goal, because today, when you have people over for dinner or for a meal, it is very common to ask the question, do you have any food allergies or sensitivities? Because it has become so common. And there are people who follow a vegan diet. So it's nice to offer, okay, if you have a plant-based person coming over in your family, this is how you can adapt it. And that was one of my goals. So thank you.
I also liked how you have a focus on, when it starts off, this cookbook has a sort of like a shopping list / what you might want in your pantry to make these recipes. And then you have a section on how to prep the food, which was really nice, because a lot of people do not know how to, say, cut an avocado and have it pop out of the skin or something like that. And reading the labels. Look at the labels when you buy stuff, because some things, I've noticed a lot. I like to buy products at Aldi, because a lot of the Aldi products do not have preservatives in them, and they might say organic, they might not say organic, but you read the label and they don't have the preservatives and additives in that, say, a competitive brand would have. So I noticed that myself, and I wonder if other people look at, like, sodium content, for example. I mean, that is huge anymore, and people don't think about it. But you have to look at that, because if you're making something that requires a couple of canned things, you could end up with, one serving is like 3 times the amount of sodium you're supposed to have, So I did love that.
Thank you. I had to become a meticulous label reader when I was following that diet. And it's important to know, like, when we pick up a product, that the front of the product is all marketing. It may say, fat-free or dairy-free or whatever, but you turn the label around and read that ingredient list, like you said, you'll find additives and things that you don't want to have, and high sodium counts and things like that. So I wanted to include that because I thought that was important. And you can still have some of your favorite products, but the important thing is to be educated and maybe make a better choice. So
that's true. And I think that's something that I don't think there's a lot of focus on that now. I feel like there's this false healthiness to labels. For example, things that never had gluten in them, that they say gluten-free, this doesn't have gluten, So there's this false healthiness to things. And I think you have to really pay attention to not get something, if you're trying to watch, to not get something like that. And I think that the way this cookbook is instructional at the beginning, before the recipes even start, is so good, because as you look through it, you're like, oh, well, I didn't know how to do that. And now that I want to make this, I can do that. And just, it's going to be helpful to people that are trying to cook this way and just don't know how,
Thank you.
I love that a lot. I also love, I say this all the time, mise en place. You have to have your stuff out, get your things out, make sure you have what you need to make this, and then start making it. Because I've talked about that before too, how often you'll say, I'm going to make whatever, and you start pulling things out and you don't have anything, So always, that's a good teaching skill too. I had to comment, especially, like I said, the apps and savory snacks. going through the recipes, that is a chapter. That chapter is a gem. It is an absolute gem because I love that we have a group of friends that get together. We call it bridge night, but we don't play bridge. We have appetizers and snacks and then, do something fun. But those kind of dishes are great for that because even in our little group of people, everybody has a food issue. So yes. I said, this is great, but I love the black bean and corn salsa. And I had to laugh because it says it serves 8, but I think it actually serves 1. You would just sit there and eat it. I think that's going to be coming to play at our next Bridge Club meeting because there's so many good things in there.
Wonderful.
Is there anything else you would like to add to what we've talked about that we missed?
Not that I can think of. I feel like you covered everything really well, Mary. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you for coming on In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. It was such a pleasure to have you, and we can't wait to share this cookbook with our friends.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful being with you.
Emily Maxson's book, Real Food Every Day, is out now. You can find more information about her book and even more recipes on her website, emilysfreshkitchen.com. You can find Mary Mac Bakehouse on social media at Mary Mac Bakehouse and on our website, marymacbakehouse.com.
Thanks a lot for listening if you did, and if you didn't, too bad for you.